we had a newborn baby, so she's about 2.5 weeks now. So of course I'm not sleeping too much, 4 or 5 hours a day. I'd like to say 4 or 5 hours a night, but that's not exactly true. It's kind of throughout the day whenever I can take a nap, which is pretty rare. But anyhow, I'm sure that you guys have your own problems to deal with, and yeah, it's a tough time for everybody. So let's just jump into today's class. So in the first class today, we kind of need to do a grammar review and a review of some vocabulary that we've looked at earlier this week, because at the end of today's class, you can take a quiz, both a written quiz and a speaking quiz, and you're going to have to be familiar with the grammar, and you're going to have to be familiar with the vocabulary. So guys, I think a really good idea is to take a look back at this sheet here. I believe it is attached. It is, oh hello GC Education, it is the directional prepositions list that we looked at on Monday. So I don't want to go over this in extreme detail, but I want to go over this briefly to try to remind you of the terms that we looked at on Monday, okay? So let's get started. This is in alphabetical order here. Let's start with our very first one. Of course, it is above. So just remember, as a directional preposition, if something is above you, it is higher than you, right? So I don't know. I'm thinking about the room here, but there are lights above me, right? Or birds fly above people. Or that building is above me as well, right? Now remember, in an abstract way, above can also be used to talk about hierarchy or the structure of power, right? My boss is above me. The local manager is above me. So that means they have more power. Now, if you're a guy and you're in a relationship with, your girlfriend or your wife, of course, your wife is above you, right? You have no power, just like me. Okay, of course, that's a joke. But anyhow, I think you guys understand above. Let's move on to across, right? Now remember, of course, the camera is across from me right now. But we can also use across as a kind of preposition of movement, right? I went across, or I will go across something, right? He went across the road. And he went back across the road because he saw the police officer about to give him a ticket. So yeah, there's across, pretty simple. And then after that we have after. So when we use after as a directional preposition, it's usually used with the verb chase or follow, right? The police officer chased after the criminal, right? So the criminal goes first and the police officer follows after, right? So just remember, when you're using after, it means one follows the other, right? And again, remember that polite expression that you can use in Canada or the United States or any English-speaking country. When you open a door for somebody else, you may say to them, after you. It's kind of like saying, ladies first. You're saying, you go first, right? You're being a polite person. So just remember, you can always open a door for someone and simply say, after you, and then they go first and they say thank you, then you say you're welcome, and then everybody feels good. Hooray, we've all been polite. Okay, let's take a look at our next one, guys. We've got against, against. Now remember, against basically means that it's directed towards something. The bird flew against the window, right? Now, when we use against in another way, it's usually used in regards to sports or maybe military action. The United States fought against Iraq. The United States fought against Afghanistan. Canada fought against, I don't know actually, Canada fought against world hunger, right? We're giving potatoes to everybody and Kraft dinner. But yeah, when we talk about sports, we could say like the Vancouver Canucks will play against the Los Angeles Kings, right? Or yesterday, Liverpool played against Arsenal. Or the Spanish soccer team will play against the Mexican soccer team. Or last weekend, I saw Brazil play against Japan, and Brazil lost. What? What is going on, right? Just kidding. Well, Japan can win in soccer sometimes, right? But against Brazil? Not very likely. Anyhow, sorry Japan, and sorry Brazil. Anyhow, moving on, guys. The next term we have here is along. When you use along as a directional preposition or a preposition of movement, it means that you're moving along a line from one point to another point, right? Now, the example we had here was they're walking along the beach. So together, they're walking along the beach. Or I'm walking along the road, right? I'm going from one point to another in a line, and that's all it is. So we'll move on to among. When you use among, we're talking about usually working in a group or being in a group of people. And the example we had here was, I like being among people. That's very nice. I like being among people too. Every day I am among my family, right? I'm spending all my time with my family. Okay, so that's among. Let's take a look at around. And around always means in, because it's round, in a circular pattern, in a circular way. So the example we had here was, we are sitting around the campfire. Or I walked around the building. So I went all around the building, right? And that is around. And then after that, of course, we've got at. Position at a point. I arrived at the meeting. At, of course, can be used in so many different ways, right? I'm pretty sure at this level you guys are familiar with how to use at effectively. So I think we'll skip on to behind, which is also very simple. If something is behind you, it's at the back of you, right? The whiteboard is behind me. The car is behind me. Or I am behind the camera. Well, actually, I'm in front of the camera, but you know what I mean, right? Now remember, behind also has that other meaning, right? Can you guys remember the other meaning of behind? Well, just in case you can't remember, behind is also kind of a casual term for your bottom or your butt or your bum, right? But behind is kind of a nicer term to use compared to butt or ASS, right? Which I won't say on camera because that will make me feel dirty. So anyhow, behind. So behind can be used as a noun, right? Just remember it has the same meaning as bum or buttocks, or it's more commonly used as ASS. Yes, but behind is a nicer way to refer to this body part, right? So anyhow, that's what we're going to talk about, but we're going to move on. Next term we have here is below. And remember, below just means basically the opposite of above, right? If something is below you, it is lower than you, right? And again, you can use below in kind of an abstract way, similar to above, right? In regards to, I don't know, hierarchy and power. If you say somebody is below me, that means that you have more power than they do, maybe in the company or in society, right? You could say, I could say something like, and this is quite rude, but I could say homeless people are below me. I am above homeless people. Now, of course, that's not very nice. I don't want to look down on homeless people, but maybe in the way that we view society, this is basically true. Now, actually, there are two expressions related to this that are kind of interesting. Let's take a look at those structures that I'm thinking of. To look up to, and basically kind of the opposite is to look down on. So let's think about the meaning of this. To look up to. Now, to look up to could mean just physically you are looking up to something, right? I looked up to the TV, right? Because I wanted to watch TV. Or I looked down on something because I wanted to look at something that was beneath me, right? But to look up to and to look down on basically means in regards to respect, right? So to look up to can mean to respect, or basically to admire somebody, right? Usually somebody. It could be a thing, but usually it's a person. Like you're not really gonna look up to, I don't know, Apple computers. Like, wow, Apple computers, I respect you, right? Wow. Well, I kind of do. They're pretty good. But anyhow, to look down on, of course, is basically means to not respect or to not admire somebody, right? So, I don't know, maybe think about some hero of yours, right? Somebody you greatly respect, whether you know that person or not, right? So you could say, for example, I look up to, well, this example is true. I'll give you my own personal example. I look up to Barack Obama. So I look up to Barack Obama because he was a pretty good president, and he is a good guy, right? He's a good dad, he's a good husband, and he was a good president. So I look up to Barack Obama. I respect him, I admire him. But on the other hand, I look down on, now it doesn't always have to be a specific person, right? It could be a certain group of people. So maybe I could say, I look down on people who don't say thank you when others open the door for them. Okay, so I look down on this big group of people who don't say thank you when other people open the door for them. That's like, you know, for Canadian people, that is like our greatest pet peeve, or something that will really make us upset, is if we open the door for somebody, we expect that they say thank you, or that they give the head nod, the nod of acknowledgement. And what am I talking about? Head nod, right? When somebody opens the door for you, you can say thank you, and then the person feels really good, you know, hip hip hooray, right? Or you should, at a minimum, nod at them, right? Like, thank you very much. So yeah, I don't like those people. I look down on them, right? But again, I could say a specific person as well. Of course, I could say, I look down on Donald Trump, right? Or I look down on, I'm trying to think of somebody I don't really respect. It's kind of hard to think of somebody. I do not look up to. Who I'd look down on, people who spit on the street, right? Or people who throw garbage on the street. People who litter. Yeah, and loitering people. Yeah, I look down on them. But yeah, I look up to Barack Obama, and I look down on people who don't say thank you when others open the door for them. Okay, now, I'm getting kind of sidetracked, but these are really good expressions, right? They're kind of cool. So, but we better get back to the sheet. Let's move on, guys, to our next term here, which is beside. Now, remember, beside is very simple, right? I'm standing beside the whiteboard, right? Beside basically has a very similar meaning to next to, which I talked about on Monday. Next to, close to, near, beside. They all have a very similar meaning, but they're not exactly the same. However, they can kind of be used interchangeably and most people don't care, right? But if I am beside the board, I'm here. I could also say I'm next to the board. Could I say I'm close to the board? Yes, I could say I'm close to the board, but I could also be here and I could say I am close to the board. But maybe I wouldn't say I am next to the board or that I'm beside the board. I'd want to be closer if I'm beside the board or next to the board, right? Okay, but let's move on to the next page. We've got between. Of course, between is very simple. Just means there are two objects or two people surrounding another person. The other person is in the middle of these two objects or two people, right? There's something on either side. So our example here was our house is between the supermarket and the school. Okay, cool. So we can imagine there's a supermarket, a school, and in the middle of that, there is this person's house, right? Or right now, of course, I am between two lights. You guys can't see that, but trust me, I'm between two lights. Okay, so let's move on to by. Okay, and here we go again. By means near, and near means kind of something similar to next to, besides, or close to, right? Which we already talked about. Again, I could say I'm by the whiteboard, or I'm near the whiteboard. But if I'm closer to it, that's when I would use besides or next to. So remember, similar, but not exactly the same. Okay, but moving on, we've got, oh, and here we go again. We have close to, which also means near, which also means by, etc., blah, blah, blah. But like I said, in my opinion, let's see here. Okay, so I am near the whiteboard. I'm by, next to, or besides the whiteboard, and I am close to the whiteboard. So maybe I'm not touching it, but I'm closer than being near it, right? So again, it's pretty simple. They can be used interchangeably, but there is a small difference in proximity to the item or the thing. Okay, but let's move on to from. Okay, so when, oh sorry, not from, sorry, down. Let's move on to down. If something is going down, it's going from some high point to a low point. He came down the hill. I will walk down the street. I went down the hallway, right? So it doesn't always mean that you are physically, going from a high point to a low point. It could just mean you're going to go in this direction a certain distance. I'm going to go down the street. I'm going to go down the hill. I'm going to go down the mountain, right? Yeah, he came down the hill. Now, also remember, you can use down in a completely different way as well to describe how you are feeling, right? If you say, for example, and okay, I'll write it up here. If you said, I feel down, what would that mean? Well, obviously, you would think it means something negative, right? Because down means low. So if you say, I feel down, it means you feel kind of sad, or you feel kind of bad, right? And you could say to somebody, maybe you see your good friend, Steven, right? Steven's usually a very friendly guy. He's very extroverted. He usually seems really happy, right? But today, Steven doesn't seem happy. He's got a frown on his face, meh. So you say to Steven, you look down, or you seem down, right? You look sad, you look depressed. What's going on, Steven? Did you break up with your girlfriend? Oh, that's too bad. But hey, there's a lot of fish in the sea. Let's go to a bar tonight. I don't want you to feel down any longer. Okay, anyhow, so that's another way you could use down. But we know that down is the opposite of up. Go down, we're fine. Okay, so let's take a look at from, the place where it starts or the place where something comes from. But in that explanation, I'm using from. Confusing, right? But anyhow, the example we have here is a question. Do you come from Tokyo? No, I come from Canada. Why would you think I'm from Tokyo? Anyhow, but yeah, if you are maybe from a different country and you move to Canada or United States, some people might be interested in your background. They might ask you, where are you from? And you say, oh, well, I'm from, and usually you'll say city, province, country, right? So, oh, I'm from, Terrace, British Columbia, Canada. And they might say, like, what? What is Canada? And you're like, oh my God, you don't know Canada. All right. But anyhow, or you may be interested in somebody's background, right? You're like, oh, where is this person from? So you could ask them, hey, where do you come from? Oh, I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Cool. Thumbs up. Anyhow, after from, guys, we have in front of, which is the opposite of behind. My hand is in front of my body, and I am in front of, I am in front of the camera, right? I'm not actually behind it. Anyhow, so in front of, very, very simple, just means one thing is facing the direction. Well, no, that sounds weird. That's too complicated. One thing is in front of another thing. Wow, in front of is kind of hard to explain without using in front of, right? But one thing is here, another thing is here. It is, my hand is in front of me, right? Okay, so moving on, we've got inside, which is the opposite of outside. This is too simple. You guys already know this. Do you prefer to play games inside or do you prefer to play games outside? Inside means you're inside a building, and outside means you're outside of a building. Maybe you're in nature, you're running in the forest, hanging out with beavers and bears and wolves or something, right? Okay, so let's move on. We've got in. In is too simple. I think we're gonna skip this. You guys are at a high level. You guys should already know this. So we'll look at into, and when you're using into, it's a preposition of movement. So when you're using into, of course, it means you're entering something or you already have entered it. You shouldn't go into the castle. Of course, the castle is very old. You might damage the structure. You shouldn't go into the castle, right? You shouldn't go into, trying to think of a good example here. What should you not go into? You shouldn't go into any scary buildings, right? Of course. But yeah, anyhow, I went into my apartment. I went into the school today. I came into the school, etc., etc. Into, you guys are probably fine. Next one we have is near. We've talked about near, close to, next to, besides, by, I think quite extensively. So let's skip off of that one and go to off. And of course, if something is off, it is not on, right? So off, pretty simple to use. Again, we'll move on to the next one, which is on, which is also too simple to use. So let's skip on, guys, to the last page. And we've got onto, moving to a place. Okay, the cat jumped onto the roof, right? Now, I don't want to jump onto the desk here. I put on too much weight recently. I would probably break the desks. But yeah, Now, you could use it in a different way. For example, let's say you lose your job. Oh no, that's terrible. But you found a new job, right? So you could say, for example, I moved onto a new job. I moved on to a new job. All right, awesome. So you got a new job. Congratulations. Well done. Okay, but let's move on to opposite. Now we know opposite means on the other side, right? So if we say our house is opposite the supermarket, it's kind of the same thing as saying our house is across from the supermarket, right? It's in the opposite direction. Of course, right now, I am standing opposite the video camera, right? I'm on the opposite side. Now, opposite, of course, can also be used in a different way, kind of. Now, let's say somebody, your good friend John, strongly likes political party A, right? He likes the political party A, but you don't agree with him. Actually, you really don't like political party A. You like political party B, right? So maybe you could say, I have the opposite view of John. So that means your views are completely different from John, right? But you guys can still be good friends, right? Now, Canadians or Americans as well, we often say, I think the opposite, or I believe the opposite, sometimes when we're having like an argument with someone and we want to say we don't agree with them. We can say, I think opposite to you, or I have the opposite opinion. I think I have the opposite opinion is the most commonly used. So that's kind of a good one to know just in case you're having an argument, maybe not an argument, a debate with someone. You can always say, I have the opposite opinion. So your opinion is the complete opposite of this other person, right? Okay, but anyhow, let's move on to out of. The cat jumped out of the window. Oh my God, better go find the cat. Hopefully the cat didn't die. If you go out of something, you leave something. So pretty simple. So next term we have here is outside. We already talked about this. We'll move on to over. The cat jumped over the wall. The bridge goes over the river, right? I want to walk over the hill, right? I hiked over the mountain. So whenever you imagine using over, you are physically going over, going above, and then beyond this structure or this thing, right? I'm trying to think of another good example here. Yeah, I hiked over the mountain. Now another thing, when I did talk about using over on Monday, we talked about using over in kind of a different abstract way, and that was in regards to maybe having an illness or having a personal problem. If you say, I got over, to get over. So yeah, I'll just write that down again. To get over something. Just remember, to get over something means to overcome some kind of problem. To overcome a problem, or it could be a disease, right? So, yeah, you had a cold recently, but then you took medicine, you ate a lot of soup with chicken and garlic, and you got a lot of sleep, right? So, and then you got better. So, you could say, I got over my cold, right? So the cold now is in the past. Now you feel great. So you could say, I got over my cold, right? Or your good friend, Stephanie, right? Stephanie, your female friend, she was dating John, but John, not a very good boyfriend. So John broke up with her. Stephanie felt very sad. But 1 week after breaking up, she's back to normal. She's okay. So Stephanie could say, I got over my ex-boyfriend, right? And you're like, hey, congratulations, Stephanie. Yeah, my ex-BF. And no, BF does not mean beef. It means boyfriend. So anyhow, that's another way you could use over. But let's move on, guys. Bada bing. Past. To go past something means, how can I say? To go past means you're near this thing, but you're, like you approach it, then you go past it, right? Or above it. And then and then you're past something, right? That is not the best explanation, but I hope you guys understand. Now, of course, if I walk past, I don't have a good, because you guys can't see if I go off camera, of course. Now, if I go past the whiteboard, that would mean I'm exiting the view of the camera, but I hope that kind of makes sense. If you went past your own apartment building, that means you went by your apartment building and you kept going, right? Okay, so let's take a look at round. Round, means in a circular way, similar to around. Yes, in a circle. We're sitting around the campfire, we're sitting round the campfire. Both of them are fine. I think people in the United Kingdom tend to use round more than they use around. Whereas people in Canada and the United States, we use around more than we use round. Okay, well, let's take a look at the next one. We've got through. So remember, through just means going from one point to another point, and it's usually going through some kind of obstacle, like when you're on a train, you go through a tunnel, right? There's some kind of opening and path, and you go through it, you get to the other side, you went through the tunnel, right? Or let's say there's a big forest, and you want to hike through the forest. It means you will start at the forest, you will walk completely past the forest to the other side where there is no more forest. You can say, I walked through the forest. Not a good idea in Canada. We have very big forests. You try to walk through the forest here, you'll probably die, unfortunately, unless you're really, really good at surviving in the wild. Okay, weird advice. So let's move on. Okay, so to is too simple. You guys should be fine with that, so we'll skip. And then we have towards. We know towards means in the direction of something. So we ran towards the castle. I walked towards the camera. Duh, right? And I walked back towards the whiteboard. So I think we're okay with towards. And let's take a look at under. If something is under something, it is beneath something, it is below something. I know you guys can't see, but there is a desk right here. Below or under the desk, there is a computer cable. There is a computer cable under the desk. Wow, what an exciting example, right? What else can I think of? You shouldn't live under the bridge. If you live under the bridge, some people might look down on you. I won't, but other people might. Anyhow, last one here we have is up. And up means from low to high, right? He went up the hill. I walked up the stairs. The airplane is up in the sky, of course, right? Okay, guys, so that was our humongous list of directional prepositions. Keep in mind that this list here, a lot of these terms are going to pop up in your quiz. So it would be a very good idea later on, even after this class, review this list here before you take the quiz, because it will definitely help you. Now, also, along with that, guys, we have some kind of directional preposition infographic information here. So if you had a hard time understanding what I'm saying, which I would understand, because visual examples for directional prepositions is always superior, I think it would be a good idea to take a look at this sheet here, because it has visual examples like you can see on, in, away from, into, etc., etc. It would be a good use of time to take a look at this here and do some review for yourself, because that would be a good thing to do before you take this quiz. Now, along with the directional prepositions that will be on the quiz, there will also be some vocabulary, right? So, some of the vocabulary is related to the stuff we looked at on Monday. And some of the terms we looked at Monday, I think I skipped a sheet or two. So I'd kind of like to come back to the one I skipped. Of course, I hope that in the meantime you guys took a look at it and did some studying by yourself. But it would be a good idea to take a look at this one here. You can find this from Monday, but I will read over this and we'll think about this. And it says, on the road, topic-specific vocabulary. Choose the most suitable explanation or interpretation, A or B, etc., etc. The words and phrases in bold will help you. Okay, so it says here, it says, people enjoy the mobility that owning a car gives them. So the important word here, and I'll write it down on the board again, is mobility. What does mobility mean? And then also, what would be the correct response to this? So give me a second here. So chakamanyo, or chotomate, or tudabom. Is that Spanish? Or, ooh, maybe that has no meaning. I'm sorry if you don't understand my Portuguese or Spanish. Anyhow, 1 second. Okay, the board's looking kind of messy, but not too terrible, right? So let's take a look. The first one we're looking at is mobility. Mobility. So mobility means the ability, because it kind of got ability, mobility, right? Mobility means the ability to easily move from one place to another, right? So if you live in the countryside in Canada, America, or your home country, you know that if you don't have a car, you don't have a lot of mobility, because usually the countryside in different countries, it's hard to get from one place to another unless you have a car. A car gives you greater mobility. And so, yeah, this example said, number one, people enjoy the mobility that owning a car gives them. And then we had two answers. A says, people enjoy being able to travel easily from one place to another. Or B, people enjoy being able to drive very fast. Now, mobility means you can move from one place to another, so B is incorrect. Mobility is not about speed or about moving somewhere quickly. Rather, it is about being able to move from one place to another place kind of easily. So our answer is A. Okay, take a look at number two. Number two says, what is your destination? Now, actually, this one, I think, compared to mobility, is kind of easy. I think you guys all know that destination refers to the place you want to go to. So our options here are A, where have you come from? Or B, where are you going to? So where have you come from? That is not in regards to destination. But B, where are you going to? That is in relation to your destination. So our answer will be B. If somebody asks me, what is your destination? Well, I don't really have one right now. I don't know where I'm going to. Oh my God. But I know after this class, I'm going to go to Tim Hortons to get some coffee. Yeah. All right, now number three, we've got congestion in the city center has increased dramatically. So congestion, good word, because it's not always just used when we talk about traffic. Congestion means that something is blocked up. Now that could mean the street. There's a traffic jam, there is congestion. There's too many cars on the street, people can't easily drive through, right? But congestion could also mean, maybe in regards to illness, that you have too much mucus or snot in your nose and you can't breathe well. So you're like, I am congested, right? So anyhow, our answers here with A, it is now easier to drive around the city center than it was before. Congestion has increased dramatically. Does that make sense? Not really. B, it is now more difficult to drive around the city center than it was before. That makes more sense, because if there's a lot of congestion on the street, it will be difficult to drive around. Let's take a look at number four. The local council wants to reduce the risks to pedestrians. Okay, so the word we're looking at here is pedestrians, and this is a good word. Pedestrian. Now, pedestrian actually doesn't have a complicated meaning. A pedestrian is just basically a citizen, a person who is not driving a car or on a motorcycle or on a bike or a bus. It just means a person who is walking around the city. So our answers here are A, the local council wants to make it safer for people to walk along the street, ding ding, or B, the local council wants to make it safer for drivers and their passengers. No, because a pedestrian is just somebody who is walking. So A makes more sense than B. A, yeah. Okay, move on to number five. The pollution in my city is terrible. Okay, so the word we're looking at here is pollution. I think this one is too easy for you guys. You know, pollution is created by CO2. It's created by cars and factories, manufacturing plants, cows. Your neighbor Brian, you know, the big guy, he eats too many beans. He makes a lot of pollution, right? So A, the air quality in my city is very poor. Ding, ding, ding. Or B, there's a lot of crime in my city. No, pollution is not related to crime. So the correct answer here is A, because pollution is all about air quality and how clean a city is, right, or town. So move on to number 6. Traffic calming measures are becoming increasingly common throughout the country. That is an interesting term. Traffic, which we already know, cars, buses, motorcycles, etc. And then calming, which I'm sure you guys know. So of course we know calm means like relax, don't get angry, take a break, don't worry so much. So traffic calming measures, traffic calming actions. I think what they're talking about here, of course, would be new policies or actions they could take to calm traffic down, but basically that would mean to reduce traffic. So our answers here are A, people have to drive more slowly because of the increased number of police in villages and towns. What? Or B, people have to drive more carefully through towns and villages because of specially built obstacles in the road. Okay, I guess that's what we're talking about. So traffic calming, yeah, would be objects that are on the road to slow people down because you don't want to drive too quickly in certain places. Okay, moving on to number 7. The center of Camford. Wow, very British. The center of Camford has been designated a traffic-free zone. Okay, obviously this is too easy to understand. Traffic-free zone. So we know zone means kind of like area, right? It's a specific area. Traffic-free zone. Now, of course, you could take free in a couple of different ways. You can think like, whoa, well, it's free to go here, or I can go there with my car. But traffic-free zone actually means an area with no traffic. So you cannot drive your car in a traffic-free zone, right? Sounds nice. So our possible answers here are A, you cannot take your car into the center of Camford, or B, you can park your car for free in the center of Camford. No, unfortunately, it's not B. The answer is A. So traffic-free means you cannot enter that area with a car, bus, or something like that. But moving on to number 8, we have container lorries and other large vehicles dominate our roads. And the word we're looking at here, which is a good word, is dominate. And dominate is a verb, and kind of an interesting one. Now, to dominate something can mean to like control something, sometimes through force. So it can have kind of a negative connotation, right? But like, yeah, let's say in regards to sports, not so much now, but I think definitely late 90s and early 2000s. Of course, Brazil kind of had like the best. Wait, what? Late 90s? No, France won in 98, right? Okay, but the Brazilian soccer team was really good in the 90s and kind of the early, like the 2000s, something like that. So we could say the Brazilian soccer team dominated soccer for a very long time, right? Or let's say the Vancouver Canucks beat LA, 5-0, right? Because the Vancouver Canucks dominated the LA Kings, right? They kind of like really controlled them. But our answers for A and B here says there are a lot of large vehicles on the road, or B, there aren't many large vehicles on the road. Our answer is A, because it says container lorries and other large vehicles dominate our roads, that means there are a lot of large trucks. Lorries is a term that is not commonly used in Canada and the United States. We usually just say semi-trucks, which I'm going to write on the board just in case. Semi-trucks. Semi-trucks are large container trucks carrying goods from one place to another. Anyhow, guys, number 9, young drivers have a higher accident risk than older drivers. That makes sense. Accident risk. Now, I think you guys know risk and risky. If something is risky, that means there's a chance that you will fail or something will go wrong, right? Gambling is obviously a very risky thing to do. Yes, you could make money, but you could also lose money. So gambling is very risky. Accident risk. So again, young drivers have a higher accident risk than older drivers. That means that young drivers are more likely to get into an accident. They have a higher accident risk, right? So looking at our options, A, young drivers are more likely than older drivers to be involved in a crash. Definitely true. Our answer is A. Okay, guys, just a few more here and then we're going to stop. Public transport is heavily subsidized in most areas. Now, subsidized, that could be with a Z or with an S. Okay. Well, on this sheet it has an S. I prefer to use a Z. Maybe that's the Canadian way. But if something is subsidized, if the government subsidizes something, that means the government puts money into it, or the government pays for part of it. Not all of it, but they pay for part of it. So of course, what's a good example in Canada? What is something that is subsidized? Well, many homeless people in Canada get a lot of subsidies from the government. The government subsidizes many things for homeless people so that they can get food and medicine, etc., right? But subsidized, public transport is heavily subsidized. That would mean the government kind of pays for public transportation, or at least covers part of the cost of public transportation in a city. I'm trying to think. I know in Japan, for example, in most large cities, that public transportation is actually not subsidized by the government. I believe it's controlled by private companies. And I think in Korea too, maybe. But anyhow, our answers here: the government has made public transport cheaper to use by giving money to bus and train companies. Excellent, that is what we're talking about. Okay guys, just two more. Number 11, we've got the junction of London Road and Holly Street is an accident black spot. Okay guys, now actually this term is not useful because it is super British. I never use this term in Canada and America. You might say blank spot, but a black spot is an area where there's a lot. The junction is an accident black spot. Yeah, actually, I'm not entirely sure of the meaning. I think it is A. It means that there's lots of accidents there, but I could be wrong. So black spot, do not worry about this. That is too British. Please ignore. Anyhow, number 12, the City Council needs to adopt an effective transport strategy within the next 5 years. So the important thing here is not transport. We know what transport means. The important thing here is strategy. Of course, strategy means some kind of plan, a tactic, a way to deal with something, right? But guys, we're running into the break right now, so I'm gonna zip it, I'm gonna shut up, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll be back in 10 minutes. You guys enjoy your break. Okay, I'll see you guys in a bit. PST Live. Now, in the second class today, we are supposed to go over some speaking practice, which is always a little bit weird when I'm doing it on camera. So what I'm going to do here, of course, is look at the questions with you guys, and I'm going to give you guys my own example answer, and hopefully help you guys think about how you would answer these as well. But before we do that, I do need to mention that there is another good review sheet that you should take a look at, hopefully with a partner, before you take the quiz today. So, well, today or tomorrow or whatever. So if you guys take a look at that other sheet that starts with teach this in the top left-hand corner, you'll notice there are some instructions, and then on the other sheet there is a sheet for student A and a sheet for student B. So basically what you do here is one person follows A, another person follows B. You have to have a portrait. You draw some things inside the portrait in regards to the instructions, and then you describe it to another person who tries to copy it. It's kind of a fun way to practice prepositions, and it can be useful. So if you have a partner at home, whether that's your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, roommate, dog, cat, etc., as long as the dog and cat have a very high IQ, maybe you can practice this with them, because it is really good practice to do, right? Anyhow, guys, but let's take a look at our speaking practice, which is all related to It's a Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood. And we have 10 questions here, right? And these questions are pretty good. They're all related to talking about where you come from, where you live, right? So let's take a look at our first question here. It says, when did you move into your neighborhood? Okay, so that's an easy question. When did you move into your neighborhood? So you have to think about, wow, how long have I lived in this neighborhood, right? And of course, you could just give a standard one-sentence answer, and that would be completely fine, or you can expand on it. So I'd have to think, when did I move into my current neighborhood? So I live in downtown Vancouver. Of course, I'm not going to give you guys my exact address because I don't want you guys sending me fan mail. Woohoo! Anyhow, but I moved into my, now I'm going to add the term current, my current, because that means like right now, these days, my current neighborhood. Now actually, I can't really remember exactly when I moved into my current neighborhood. So I'm going to use the term around, because when you use around in regards to time, it means that you're not exactly sure. You think it's close to this time, but it could be a little bit after or a little bit before. Around 4 years ago. Okay, so I moved into my current neighborhood around 4 years ago. Now, you could also expand on this a little bit and explain why. Why did you move to that new neighborhood? So I moved into my current neighborhood around 4 years ago, and I'm going to give one reason why. And I'm going to say the main reason. So whenever you say the main reason, you're saying that this is the most important reason why something occurred, right? The main reason why I moved into my current apartment, because I live in an apartment, I don't live in a house. Hopefully in the future I will live in a house, but I moved into my current apartment because it is much nicer, so I'm going to use a comparative, nicer, than my previous apartment. So my previous apartment, it was okay, but actually my wife and I, we were living in just a bachelor suite, right? And a bachelor suite kind of means like a, well, I don't want to confuse it, but a bachelor suite is just like one big room, right? One big room with a kitchen and a bathroom, right? There's no separate bedroom, right? Everything's in just one room. Your living room and your bedroom, it's in the same place, and that is a bachelor suite. But we decided to move into a nicer apartment where we currently live, which is a one-bedroom apartment, which is too small for 2 kids, so maybe in the fall we're gonna be moving. Anyhow, guys, so that would be my answer for number 1. Let's take a look at the second question. So, number 2, do you like your neighborhood? What do you like about it? Okay, so this is like a 2-part answer. First, we just kind of answering, yes, I like my new neighborhood, or no, I don't like it. And then we're giving reasons why we like it or don't like it. Do you like your neighborhood? Yeah, I do like my neighborhood. I really do. Yes. I definitely, because I want to really emphasize that I like it, right? I definitely like my neighborhood. Now you'll notice in the second question, when I write down neighborhood, I'm including a U, which I did not include here. This is more of the American spelling in number 1, and in number 2, this is more of the Canadian English spelling. To me, it doesn't really matter which one you use. I kind of actually agree with Americans. Americans are kind of simplifying the English language by removing a lot of kind of useless or soundless letters. Like, but anyhow, but you can add a U. So yes, I definitely like my neighborhood, but it says, what do you like about it? Okay, somebody asks you, like, what do you like about X or Y or Z or J or whatever it is? I think it's usually good to give a couple of reasons why. And like the magic number usually when answering something is 3, right? So let's try to give 3 reasons why. So I gotta think, yes, I definitely like my neighborhood. Why do I like it? Now, again, I'm gonna start with the main reason. Now, I already gave one reason before, but main reason why. But of course, actually, we're not talking about my apartment. We're talking about my neighborhood. So we're not talking about my single apartment. We're talking about the area around my neighborhood. But the main reason why is because my neighbors are, they're so nice. I really like the neighbors I have in my current neighborhood. They're really nice, and there's a very good mix of different kinds of people. In my apartment building, there's quite a few old people that are very friendly. There's also some young professionals. There's also some families. So like it's a really, really good mix. So I really like my neighbors. Also, there are shopping centers near my apartment. So another reason why is that there's lots of shopping centers or like grocery stores near my apartment, so that's very useful. And I'm going to give one more reason here. I'm going to start with lastly, the area is quite safe. So the area around my neighborhood, it's pretty safe. We don't have a high crime rate. Generally, if people do come into my area and cause trouble, it's people from outside my neighborhood. Most of my neighbors, very good people. Anyhow, guys, so let's move on to number 3. Number 3 here. Does your neighborhood have all the facilities you need? For example, health services, supermarkets, banks, schools, parks, etc. What other amenities would you like to add? Okay, so amenities are kind of like bonuses or infrastructure that make your life easier, right? So, does your neighborhood have all the facilities you need? Kind of related to number 2. Yes, there are many facilities in my neighborhood. Whoops, neighborhood. So yeah, there really are. For example, so I'm not really going to expand on that. I'm just going to say yes, there are many facilities in my neighborhood. Well, no, maybe I will a little bit. There are many supermarkets, some schools. I think there are 2 pretty close to my place. Parks. Like actually my neighbor across the hall from me is from Korea. His name is Park. So lots of parks in my neighborhood. Ooh, anyhow, like, yeah, many parks. A hospital. So there's actually a hospital pretty close to our place, which is very useful, etc. Close to my apartment. Now, the other part of this question says, what other amenities would you like to add? Okay, so let's say I'm a very powerful person and I can add some other amenities. What are some other amenities that I would like to add to my neighborhood? Like I said before, my neighborhood's pretty good. What else would I like to add? Well, like right in my neighborhood, the restaurants are not so great. Not so bad. Okay, that's being greedy. No. Well, maybe later my 2 girls in a couple of years would really like to go to an amusement park. So maybe I will add an amusement park. If possible, I would add an amusement park like Disneyland, because my daughter, my older daughter, who's about 2 years and, oh geez, I'm so bad at math, April, May, June. My older daughter, who's about 2 years and 3 months, she really loves Disney, right? She likes, Goofy and Mickey and the princesses and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be really nice if I had an amusement park close to my apartment, because then we could easily go there and she could enjoy Disney-related stuff. Anyhow, all right, guys, so these are my example answers for the first 3 ones, and this is how I would speak, actually. So I think that's pretty accurate, good examples. Hopefully that could help you out. But let's look at 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going to erase 1, 2, 3. I hope that's kind of helpful for you guys. But taking a look at number 4, it says, what would you like to change about your neighborhood? Whoa, that is a tough question. What would I like to change? Like I said before, I'm a pretty big fan of my neighborhood. It's a pretty good neighborhood. And my wife and I don't usually complain about it too much. Like I said, the crime rate is very low. Lots of good facilities, lots of good amenities. So there's really not that much I would like to change about my neighborhood. So maybe I'll say that first, but then I will add something. So I'm going to say there isn't very much that I would change about my neighborhood, because It is quite good already. Period. However, okay. Now, even though my neighborhood is quite good, of course, there's always things that could add, like, you know, Disneyland Vancouver, hooray. What would I change? What would I change about my neighborhood? Okay, one thing I would change, this is going to sound really weird because I already said the crime rate's really low, but actually there's not a police station really close to my neighborhood. It would be kind of nice if there was one because, like I said, crime rates are low, but we do get a lot of kind of transient, homeless people walking through the neighborhood. They don't cause a lot of crime, but sometimes they're just really, really loud and obnoxious. So I kind of wish there was a police station closer because maybe then the police would pick them up and take them away. Ooh, that sounds bad. But anyhow, I'm going to say, however, I wish there was a police station in my neighborhood. It's not really necessary, but yeah, that would kind of help out a little bit. Other than that, I really like my neighborhood, so yeah, no, that's about it. Okay, so I'm going to move on to number 5 with you guys. Number 5 here, what do you like about your community? Okay, like I said before, I really like the people in my community. They're really, really nice people. So what do I like about the community? The number one thing I like about my community. Let's start with that. The number one thing I like about my community is that there is a good mix of different people. And I'm going to expand on this a little bit. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm saying there's a good mix of different people. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of people that live in my neighborhood. Like I said before, there's some older people, there's some young professionals, there's some families. There's also a lot of international people, whether they're professionals or just students. It's just a really good mix of people. And I think most people who live in my apartment building or in the neighborhood are kind of regular middle-class people. They're not like dealing drugs or attacking people on the street or doing something else illegal. So I think, yeah, they're just all around like really, really good people. So there's a good mix of different people, young and old, students and professionals, middle class, and actually some rich people, middle class and rich, etc., etc. So yeah, is there something else I like about the people of my community? Yes, there is one other really good thing. Everyone is very helpful, and we keep an eye out for each other. So that's a kind of interesting expression. So yeah, everyone is quite nice. They're also very helpful. Like if I'm in my apartment building and I'm having trouble with something, I know that my landlord, the manager of my building, will always help me out. which is very, very strange because previously when I lived in different apartment units, I always felt like the manager of the building or the landlord was kind of like an enemy, right? Like somebody you want to avoid or hide things from, which sounds weird, but I just felt like that. But our current landlord or the building manager is such a nice guy, very, very helpful, and everybody in the building is very helpful. And we keep an eye out for each other. The meaning of this is just like if we see that one of our neighbors is in trouble, we will try to help them. People are always willing to lend a helping hand. If somebody's moving out and I know them, I will offer to help take their furniture outside, right? Or maybe bring their furniture inside if they're moving in, right? Like people are just very, very, very helpful in my apartment unit. In my general neighborhood, yeah, people are also pretty nice. Good mix of people. We help each other out if we can, I guess. Okay guys, so that's number 5. And I think also this part here, usually that seems counterintuitive that like people living downtown, sometimes you think those people are like, highly competitive, kind of cutthroat people. But actually it's not true. Usually I find people who live in the suburbs are not as helpful. I'm not sure why, but that's just how it is. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. We have, how many of your neighbors do you know? Are any of them nosy? Well, that's a good question actually. Okay, how many of my neighbors do I know? I don't have an exact number, but I think I know most of my neighbors in my apartment building. Outside of my apartment building, not as much, but I'm gonna say I know quite a few of my neighbors. Like I don't know everybody, but I know quite a few. I know quite a few of them. And quite a few means like a fairly high amount, right? Are any of them nosy? Now, nosy, related to your nose, right? What does that mean? Nosy is an adjective. If somebody is nosy, it means they're always putting their nose into other people's businesses. Or business, not businesses, sorry, into other people's business, their personal lives, right? Somebody who is nosy is basically overly interested in what other people are doing. Maybe they're that kind of older person that like stands at the window and they open their blinds and are like always watching what's going on in the neighborhood. And they're like, oh, Stacy's not dating John anymore. Oh my God, right? Anyhow, are my neighbors nosy? Not really. No. Okay, yeah, there is one extremely nosy guy in my apartment building. He does kind of upset me sometimes. But yeah, I would say there is one very nosy older man in my apartment building. Whoops, what am I doing here? Having a brain meltdown in my apartment building. Now the reason why I think he's nosy is like every time I run into him, he always asks me so many questions. How's your wife? How's your kid? Did you get a new job? You got to make more money, And I'm like, yeah, man, I know. Like, geez, give me a break. He always asks too many questions. And every time I throw out the garbage or do recycling, he always seems to be down in the parking lot, and it's always like he's watching if I'm recycling properly or if I'm throwing out kind of weird garbage. He's always keeping an eye on me, so it makes me very suspicious of him. Yeah, and I'm gonna write that down. I am suspicious of him. And apparently he is suspicious of me too, and that's why he's always watching me. Anyhow, so maybe you guys, if you were answering this question, you'd have to think, in your neighborhood, are there any nosy people? Usually it tends to be kind of older people that seem to be nosy. Maybe it's because their lives have become a little bit boring, I'm not sure. But they usually like to keep an eye on what's going on in the neighborhood and usually ask too many questions. But in my case, most people in my neighborhood, stand-up guys and women, very good people, but just, yeah, one guy who's always in the parking lot asking too many questions. Anyhow, I'm going to erase these ones here, guys, and then we're going to look at 7, 8, 9, and also 10 as well. So give me a moment here. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to clean the whiteboard a little bit more vigorously after today's class. Okay, all right, I know it looks kind of messy, but good enough. All right, so 7, 8, and 9 is 7. Do any of your neighbors have a pet? Have you ever had a pet problem with them? Yeah, that's a good question. In Canada, well, in Vancouver or anywhere in Canada, people love to own pets. I think pet ownership, or like the percentage of people who own a pet in Canada, is probably one of the highest in the world. Seems like almost everybody has a pet, even if they have a very small apartment. So, do any of your neighbors have a pet? Yes, many of them own a dog or dogs, or a cat. Actually, my neighbor owns, not the neighbor right next door to me, but in the hallway, same hall, she owns 2 dogs. What kind of dogs are they again? Not bulldogs. Pugs, yeah. She has 2 pugs. Usually I don't like pugs very much, but her dogs are really well behaved, so I really like them. Did I have any problems with them? Not really, but you know, sometimes dogs can start barking and they can get kind of loud. So yeah, occasionally. Sometimes they can be loud, but overall, they are all right. So yeah, sometimes they can be loud, but you know, overall, in the grand scheme of things, they're not too bad. So I can't really complain. Okay, so let's move on to number 8. That 8 looks really weird. What happened? Okay, number 8. Did you like the neighborhood where you grew up? How is it different today compared to the past? Woo! Now there is a loaded question. That's a big one. Now, the neighborhood where I grew up, of course, it's in my hometown, northern British Columbia. Bleh, it's cold, right? So, did you like the neighborhood where you grew up? Yeah, I like the neighborhood. Nah, not really. Okay, I'm going to say I have mixed feelings. And that's a good expression. I have mixed feelings about the neighborhood I grew up in. Okay, so mixed feelings is a good term. If you say I have mixed feelings about something or someone, it means you have both good and bad feelings about that thing. So it's neither positive nor negative, it's just mixed, right? So if you say you have mixed feelings about something, you probably want to explain what were the positive, what were the negatives, or one positive, one negative. So I'm going to say here, on one hand, and I'm going to start with something positive. On one hand, there was a lot of lot of nature, parks, and things for young people to do. Actually, I'm going to erase young people. I should have been more specific because I'm talking more about children, not so much teenagers or adults. So yeah, in my hometown, as you can imagine, it's in the countryside, so nature was easily accessible, lots of forests, mountains, places to go hiking, you could go fishing, go hunting, all that kind of stuff, canoeing, kayaking, yada yada. And we would do that stuff when I was a kid. So usually in summer, especially during summer vacation, my brother and I and our friends, yeah, we would spend almost the whole day outside doing something, right? Sometimes something bad, like, making a bow and arrow and shooting our neighbor's dog or something. Not killing it, that sounds really terrible. But anyhow, yeah, we would do a lot of weird things outside. But that's really good for kids, I think, right? But on the other hand, because it's a small town, not a lot of opportunity for jobs or advancement, right? If you wanted to get a good education, you couldn't continue to live in my hometown. You had to go somewhere else. You had to go to university in a big city like Vancouver or somewhere else. On the other hand, there was not a lot of opportunity. So yeah, there we go. Now there was a second part here. How is it different today compared to the past? When I go back to my hometown these days, I actually think that things are kind of worse than they were in the past. There are really good high-paying jobs in my hometown right now because my hometown got lucky about a year ago and a big company decided to move to my hometown to build kind of a facility for processing gasoline. So it's a huge project, so there's a lot of money coming into my hometown, and that's really good. I'm really happy for the people who have jobs there because they're extremely high paying. But there are also a ton of, and this sounds bad, like I'm complaining about homeless people all the time, but there's a ton of kind of homeless people and drug addicts in my hometown now that did not exist when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was very innocent. We would rarely see homeless people, rarely see drug addicts. But when I go back now, I see a lot of drug addicts and homeless people, and it's kind of sad because I didn't see these people when I was a kid. So I feel bad for the kids who are growing up in my hometown now because they have to see these homeless drug addicts doing kind of terrible things, right? So compared to the past, my hometown has gone downhill. So if we say something has gone downhill, it basically means it has gotten worse. It is not as good as it used to be. So that's pretty sad, but anyhow, I'm not living there. Okay, so number 9, is your neighborhood convenient for raising children? How about teenagers or adolescents? So teenagers and adolescents has basically the same meaning. And of course, you become a teenager once you turn 13. Usually in Canada and America, being a teen means kind of ages 13 through 18. Although if you think about the number 19, it also includes that teen, right? But once you turn 18 in Canada or America, you are an adult, or more specifically, a young adult, right? So is my hometown or my neighborhood, not my previous one. Is your neighborhood convenient for raising children? My current neighborhood, is it good for raising children? This I would have kind of the same feeling as number 8. I have mixed feelings about this, but I'm not going to say mixed feelings this time. I'll try to give you a different kind of answer. Is your neighborhood convenient for raising children? I'm going to start by saying yes and no. And I'm going to start with on one hand again. On one hand, there are schools near our place. So that's one good thing, right? On one hand, there are some schools near our place, but also crime is low. And no, that's about it. I'm just going to say, whoops, use my hand here. There are schools near our place. I'm just going to say, and crime is low. But on the other hand, what are some negatives about raising children in my neighborhood? On the other hand, our apartment is too small and we should move somewhere with more space. Yeah, the main problem is we just don't have enough space. Now, the second part of the question did say, how about for teenagers and adolescents? What I already wrote down would basically also be applicable for teenagers and adolescents. Actually, I think my current neighborhood for teenagers and adolescents probably is better because they have access to shopping and I don't know, museums, etc., etc. I don't know if teenagers like museums, but anyhow. For teenagers, it's probably better than for kids. For teens, it is quite good for teenagers. But it depends. Like growing up in my hometown, I thought was pretty good for children because of the nature, the parks, and all that kind of stuff. But once you became a teenager in my hometown, there's not really a lot to do. And when I was growing up, the economy was bad. Like traditionally in my hometown and in Canada, when you turn like 13, 14, it's very common to get a part-time job. That's just kind of part of the culture. So I got a part-time job when I was 14, but it was kind of hard to get a job at the time because the economy was pretty bad. So yeah, and then also for teenagers or adolescents in my hometown, yeah, there's just not a lot to do. There's not a lot of entertainment, right? So that part kind of sucked. And also no post-secondary education opportunities. So after everybody turns 18, probably about 75% of us leave our hometown to go to university, and not many of us go back. Of course, some people do, but usually we leave and then continue to live in some other place like Vancouver or Calgary or Edmonton, something like that, right? Anyhow, all right, guys, but I'm gonna zip it because we got to move on to our last question, and the last question is actually pretty boring, really, but we got to erase these other questions first. So 7 through 9, we'll get this one. So last question is about family businesses. So as opposed to franchises or chain stores and that kind of stuff. And it says, are there many family businesses in your neighborhood? My answer right now is probably no, not really. there are a few, but not too many. Wow, what a boring question. But we better answer this anyhow. Okay. So, number 10, are there many family businesses in your community? So yeah, I'm gonna say no, not really. Although there are just a few. Now, the few I'm talking about here is kind of like corner stores. So there are some family-owned corner stores, but we usually call those mom and pop stores. So I'm going to write that down. There are 2 mom and pop stores. Now just remember, mom and pop stores does not mean a place where you can go buy a mom or buy a pop. That sounds weird. But yeah, mom and pop stores are convenience stores owned independently, usually by a family. So close to my apartment, there's like a mom and pop place where the owner is an older man, and then sometimes his wife works there, and sometimes I see their kids. They're like super friendly, really like them. And there's also a few laundromats close to my place, which are kind of mom and pop laundromats. They're owned by, again, like a family, stuff like that. But for most places around, most businesses around my place are, you know, kind of big chains like Starbucks or supermarket chains like Safeway, not Dangerous Way. Dangerous Way is a terrible supermarket. It's very dangerous. Safeway is much better, much safer. But anyhow, bad joke. Other than that, not so much. Other than that, not so much. Okay guys, so I give you guys an example of how I would answer these questions. Of course, if you guys are talking about your neighborhoods, your answers are going to be completely different, but I hope this stuff kind of helps you out. I think another really good question here would be, would you recommend your neighborhood? So you should think about that question too. So if we had a number 11, maybe the question would be, would you recommend your neighborhood? So if a good friend of yours, maybe let's say a foreign friend of yours, were moving to your country, moving to your city, would you recommend your neighborhood to your friend? Let's say your friend is from France, right? Your good French friend. That's uncommon though, friend from France, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, your friend from a foreign country is moving to your country and your city. Would you recommend your neighborhood to them? Now, if somebody asked me this, yeah, I would say I would recommend my neighborhood to them if they are single, or if they are just with a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, or husband with no kids. If my friend had kids, I cannot really recommend my neighborhood because, again, a lot of the apartments are quite small. It's not really good for children. There's a lack of space. If they wanted more space, they would have to be literally millionaires. They'd have to have so much money in order to afford a place downtown that would have enough space for kids. So for people with kids, I definitely say no. My neighborhood is not a very good area. But if you're youngish, you know, in your 20s or early 30s, and you're by yourself, or you want to live with a roommate, or you got a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, or husband, and you want to be in a very convenient place, and yes, my neighborhood is awesome. Lots of supermarkets nearby. Yeah, some good places for entertainment. There are some okay bars if you like drinking. Actually, not very good bars. Vancouver doesn't have very good bars, but there are some okay bars, there are some okay restaurants, and if you like art or music and stuff like that, downtown is also pretty good because a lot of the musicians who come here to have a concert will be playing downtown, of course. And there's a very large art gallery if you like art. I don't, but maybe you do. So it could be very good for artistic people. All right, guys, but you guys should think about that as well. Would you recommend your neighborhood? But I think we're done with our second class today. The speaking portion is done. But before we take a break here, we need to talk about our third class and what we'll be doing. So we did some review in the first class. And of course, remember, don't forget those extra sheets. You should take a look at those. And for our last class, our elective class for today, what we're going to be doing, I hope it's interesting, but we're going to be talking about kind of traveling around the world and talking about some vocabulary related to that. So we're going to be talking about some geographical terms that we can use. And so what you'll want to take a look at is around the world. And we'll be thinking about a lot of vocabulary and also demonyms. And demonyms are the term we use to describe people from a certain place. So for example, people from Canada are what? What are we? We are Canadians, right? Or people from America are Americans, not Americans. They are Americans, right? So anyhow, those are what demonyms are. We're going to be taking a look at a lot of demonyms. And so you guys will be better able to describe where these people are from and what they're referred to in English. So that's kind of a fun thing for me because I like talking about geography and culture from different countries. And yeah, we'll be looking at that and we'll try that out in our third class. But yeah, don't forget, of course, today that you guys have a quiz that you can start after today's class. You can try it out. There's a written portion and also a speaking portion. So remember, for the speaking portion, you guys will have to record something and submit it to us. I think you have to record it in an MP3 file, maybe MP4. I don't really know enough about technology, but yeah, you'll have to answer some questions. So yeah, you guys will do that later. But yeah, we got about 2 minutes before the break. And I have to continue to talk to you guys, even though we're done the second portion of today's class. Well, I hope whether you guys are in Brazil, Chile, Mexico, Japan, or Korea, that everything is going well for you guys. I think the economy is not too bad in Japan and Korea right now, so hopefully things are going okay. Yep, and I guess it's probably late in Japan right now, or wait. Japan and Korea, what time? 17 hours ahead, right? Is it? Yeah, 17. So we're almost coming up to noon here in Canada. So I guess it's like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. If you're watching this in Japan or Korea, I think you must be kind of insane because you're up so early in the morning. What are you doing watching this so early in the morning? Just kidding. But yeah, you must be tired if you're watching this. If you're in Brazil, I guess it is mid-afternoon right now, like what, 3 or 4, right? Or in Chile. Oh, wait, Chile is probably the same time. Not too sure about the time zone in Chile. Anyhow, guys, but yeah, we're coming up on a break here. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. You guys can hang out for 10 minutes, and when we come back to it, we're going to be talking about different places around the world. And it will be super exciting to talk about different countries like Chile or Mexico or Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can tell I'm pretty tired right now. But yeah, trying to stay awake. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll take a break in a minute. I wish I had something to chit-chat with you guys about, but I am pretty brain dead right now. Actually, I'm going to write that term down. Brain dead's always a good term. Brain dead. if you say, I am brain dead, of course that is an adjective. What you're saying here is just that you are very tired, right? Your brain is dead. But anyhow, yeah, we'll take a break, guys. I'll see you guys again in 10 minutes. Bye-bye. welcome back to Live PST. So we're in our third class now, right? And we're going to take a look at our elective material. So if you guys can take a look at this sheet here, on the side it says General Vocabulary, and the title though at the very top is Around the World. Wow, sounds like fun. Like I said before, I really kind of like, how can I put it? I really kind of like geography and talking about where people are from. So this is actually kind of interesting for me. So in number 1 through 12 here, it says choose the correct word or phrase in bold to complete these sentences. And we're going to be talking about where certain places or countries are located. So number 1, we have Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are all in something. Okay, now remember, this geography is coming from a British, Canadian, American point of view. So we have all in the Near East, the Middle East, or the Far East. Now, again, because this comes from basically an English or British point of view, you have to think there's like, Europe here, and then there's something here, India, East Asia, etc., etc. So we have the options in the Near East, in the Middle East, and then in the Far East. So Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, where are they? Are they in the Near East, the Middle East, or the Far East? What do you guys think? But you have to think again in relation to the United Kingdom or in relation to Britain. So the Near East are countries closer to Europe. Then you've got the Middle East, which is countries like, Iraq and Iran, Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. And then you have the Far East. So actually that's the answer we're looking for, is the Far East for number 1. Because the Far East means further away from the United Kingdom and further away from Europe. So the correct answer is the Far East. So basically the Far East includes countries like China, Mongolia, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Taiwan, the Philippines, those kind of countries, right? Whereas the Middle East is more about like Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, etc. And the Near East means countries like Turkey, Palestine, Syria, Armenia, blah, blah, blah. Okay, anyhow, but yeah, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are all in the Far East. But that's a very British term. I would say for most North Americans, most Canadians and Americans, we would probably refer to it just as East Asia. When we say East Asia, again, we just mean China, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and the Philippines, etc. Okay, let's take a look at number 2, though. The South Pole is situated in the Arctic, the Antarctic, or Antarctica. Oh my God. So you guys know the North Pole, there's also the South Pole. What is the South Pole and what is the North Pole? Of course, those are those large, basically continents that are just covered in ice. And I know penguins come from the South Pole. So the South Pole is located or situated in the Arctic? No. The Arctic refers to the North Pole. So is it Antarctic or Antarctica? Actually, we're looking for Antarctic, and not Antarctica, because Antarctica means the entire continent and is not preceded by the. If we have the, it must be Antarctic. If we have no the, then it is Antarctica. But because we have the, we're talking about the Antarctic. So Antarctic. The Antarctic is our answer. So that's where the South Pole is. I don't know why we're talking about that though, because nobody really goes, well, okay, you might talk about that in English, the North Pole, South Pole, but not very often. Anyhow, New Zealand is part of Austria, Australia, Australasia. 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 Okay, so think about New Zealand, right? Where is New Zealand? We know New Zealand is very, 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 very far south in the Pacific Ocean. And it's to the east of Australia, right? So Australia, and then way further east, you've got New Zealand. I don't think they're actually that close to each other. I think if you take a plane from New Zealand to Australia, I think it still takes quite a long time, like Auckland or Port Wellington, can't remember the names, to Sydney. I think that's probably like 6 hours or something by plane. I'm not exactly sure, but my younger brother has been to New Zealand, and he said it's a really nice place with a lot of sheep. Yummy, lamb. Anyhow, so New Zealand is part of Austria. Where is Austria? Well, Austria, of course, is not the same as Australia, right? I don't know which one is more famous, probably Australia. But Austria is a rather small country, kind of situated in the center of Europe, right? Austria is below Germany, close to the Czech Republic, close to Italy, and I think close to some Eastern European countries like maybe Hungary. A lot of hungry people in Hungary. Ooh. Anyhow, so no, our answer is not Austria. Is it Australia? Is New Zealand situated or part of Australia? Well, the two countries are, kind of not next to each other. They're actually quite far away from each other. But New Zealand is a very isolated country, right? And basically the closest country to New Zealand is Australia, but they're still quite far away from each other. So is it part of Australia? No. Our answer is Australasia. Australasia. So Australasia includes countries like Australia and, whoops, I'm spelling this wrong, Australasia. I think it includes, Australia, New Zealand, maybe Papua New Guinea, and some micronations, some very small countries like, I can't remember the names of them. They're very small island countries, right? But, so Australasia, for the British, that is how they refer to the continent, right? And when we're talking about continents, I mean North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and then Australasia, and then the poles, right? But we in North America, we usually don't call it Australasia. We call it Oceania. Oceania and Australasia have the same meaning. Anyhow, let's take a look at number 4, guys. Number 4, we've got Bangladesh is part of what? Okay, so let's think about Bangladesh. Where is Bangladesh? I think the capital city is Dhaka. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the capital city's name is Dhaka. Bangladesh is located in South Asia. When we talk about South Asia, we're talking about countries like Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Mauritius, and also including Bangladesh. So we usually call it South Asia, and Bangladesh is part of that, but there is no answer for South Asia. So we've got Bangladesh is part of the Indian subcontinent, India, or Indiana. Okay, so let's think about this. Is it Indiana? No, it's not Indiana. Indiana is a state in the United States, right? So it's definitely not there because Indiana is in North America in the United States. Is it India? No, Bangladesh is not in India. Bangladesh is a separate country, right? India is a very big country and it includes lots of different states, but not Bangladesh. So our correct answer here is the Indian subcontinent. So in Canada and America, we do say the Indian subcontinent, but we also say something else as well. Now, subcontinent means it's not a full continent by itself, but like partly a continent, because India is a really big country. But basically that has the same meaning as just saying South Asia. Okay. All right, guys. So yeah, Bangladesh has a huge population. It's a relatively small country, but anyhow, interesting place. A lot of T-shirts or pants and textiles are made in Bangladesh. Let's take a look at number 5. We've got Guatemala. Good bananas from Guatemala. Guatemala is a country in North America, South America, or Central America. Ooh, that's a tough one. So Guatemala is beneath or below or under Mexico, but it is also above Colombia, right? And Colombia is one of the most northern countries in South America. So it's kind of in between the two continents. So it's not in North America and it's not in South America. Guatemala is in Central America. And I'm not kidding, they really do have good bananas. Central America. So countries like Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Nicaragua are all in Central America. Central America is actually kind of a small area. But when you think about North America and South America, and you're coming down to Mexico, Mexico kind of thins out and then connects to South America. But in between the two areas is Central America, and there's a number of smaller countries there, one of them being Guatemala. Okay, anyhow, guys, let's move on and talk about, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Panama, and Honduras all form part of what is often referred to as Latin America, South America, or Spanish America. Okay, well, we don't really use the term Spanish America. Now, South America is the continent, right? South America includes all those countries there. But Panama and Honduras are not in South America. They are located in Central America. So Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Panama, and then also, like, they're not Spanish America because Argentina, Colombia, Panama, and Honduras, yes, they speak Spanish, but Brazil, of course, and especially if you're Brazilian, you know you guys don't speak Spanish. You guys speak Portuguese, right? It's a totally different language. Although I guess they're pretty closely related. But anyhow, so we would say they're all in Latin America. So Latin America includes countries from Mexico southward down through South America. These countries are all dominated by either Spanish speakers or Portuguese speakers who originally came from either Spain or Portugal. Well, not all the people, of course. Colonists came from there and then mixed with the locals and also brought people from Africa. But anyhow, so that is Latin America. I've never been there, but I would like to go. Number 7, Botswana. Botswana is in South Africa, Southern Africa, or Central Africa. Woo, that one is tough. This is a tough question. I'm not very good with African geography, but I do know where Botswana is roughly located. Now, I know the answer is not South Africa because South Africa is the name of the country. South Africa, at the very bottom of Africa, you know, it's got a mix of different people. I think they call it the Rainbow Nation or something like that. And it's not Central Africa because I know it's in the southern part. So our answer is Southern Africa because I think Botswana is just slightly above South Africa. And what I heard is that Botswana is one of the most successful African countries. They're actually doing pretty good. They have a lot of diamonds. Actually, I think a lot of the world's diamonds, they either come from Canada or they come from Botswana and some other places in Africa. But anyhow. All right, guys, so number 8, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are known collectively as Britain, Great Britain, or the United Kingdom. Now, that's a tough one. People get confused between the meaning of Britain, Great Britain, and the United Kingdom. And it is kind of confusing. I don't think I exactly know the difference. However, so if we're thinking about the British Isles, right, we have England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, right? So those 4 places, though, form one country: England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, right? And when you see Wales, don't think about a number of whales in the ocean, you know, it's not like that. It's completely different, because actually my good friend in my hometown, his parents were both Welsh, and they immigrated to Canada a long time ago. And people from Wales are like super, super white people with usually like red or orange hair. So my friend has extremely white skin. He cannot get a suntan. If he goes outside during the summer months and tries to tan, he just turns pink, and then he feels in pain. And he has orange hair like a clown, but he's like a super nice guy. Anyhow, yeah, Welsh people, cool. Now Britain is just denotes, I think, England and Scotland. I think that is the meaning, or it's England and Wales. Great Britain. Okay, no, sorry. Britain just means England. I'm pretty sure it means England or England and Wales. Great Britain means England, Wales, and Scotland. That does not include Northern Ireland. But if we include Northern Ireland, then it's known as the UK. So that is our answer for number 8, the United Kingdom, or just the UK. And if you think about it, the name makes sense. United Kingdom, right? There are 4 kingdoms, 4 countries, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, that have become one, and therefore we call them the United Kingdom. You have to remember that the people from those places are not exactly the same. They're ethnically different people. Like the people in England and the people in Wales are not ethnically the same. Welsh people had their own language. They still have their own language. Most of them speak English, of course, but they do have their own original Gaelic language. Scottish people used to. I think the English destroyed their language and culture, though, so they mostly just speak English, of course. And Northern Irish and Ireland, they also speak English, but they originally had their own, and they still do have their own Gaelic language, but I think the English basically destroyed it. But anyhow, number 9, guys. Oh yeah, number 9. Okay, the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland are part of Continental Europe, Mainland Europe, or Europe. Okay, well, of course the UK and Ireland are part of Europe. That's why our answer is just Europe. But why not Continental Europe, or why not Mainland Europe? Mainland Europe means the large land mass that does not include islands. So we cannot say mainland Europe because the UK and Ireland are islands and they're not part of the mainland. Continental Europe basically has the same meaning as mainland Europe. So again, that is not our answer, and that's why we just got to go with Europe. Let's take a look at number 10, and these markers are not good. They're going to die. Number 10, Kuwait, Oman, and I like Oman because it looks like, oh man. Anyhow, Kuwait, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates form part of what are known as the West Indies, the Gulf states, the European Union. Now, we should know Kuwait, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates is definitely not a European country. So that is not part of the European Union. They are located in the Middle East, but a specific area in the Middle East, right? So if you think about these countries, they're all close to Saudi Arabia, right? And the Persian Gulf, right? So you have Saudi Arabia coming down, and then you have Iran above them, and you have this strip of water here called the Persian Gulf. That's where most of the world's oil actually comes from. It comes out of that Gulf and goes to Asia, North America, Europe, etc., etc. But yeah, these countries are all pretty large. Well, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates are large oil suppliers, right? Oman, I don't think as much. But yeah, they're all part of the Gulf states because they are in the Persian Gulf. So we call them the Gulf states. Actually, I would really like to go to Oman, because if you go and search Oman and also Yemen and you look at Google images of the countries, it's actually really, really interesting. And I heard Oman is actually pretty safe and a nice country. Anyhow, number 11, Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden are known collectively as the Baltic Republics, the Caribbean, or Scandinavia. All right. Well, the Baltic countries or republics are next to Russia. And these are countries like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So that does not include Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. So it's not the Baltic republics. Thinking about the Caribbean. The Caribbean is that, a group of islands between North America and South America, Cuba, Haiti, Santo Domingo, etc., in the Caribbean. So when you imagine Caribbean, you usually think of like fruit drinks and people dancing and having fun in the sun. So Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden, no, definitely not in the Caribbean. They are Scandinavian countries. So that is where all the Viking people came from a long time ago. If you know Viking people, the people wearing the horned helmets, they used to go around Europe killing people. They were pretty awful people. But then eventually Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden really calmed down, and now they're really, really nice countries, I guess. I've never been there, but they have a very good reputation for having good countries. Yeah, or being good countries. Okay, so last one, guys. We got 12. Bangkok, Lima, and Tunis are all examples of capital, or capitalism cities. Wow, that's kind of weird. Well, the easy answer, and this is too easy. We all know that they are capital cities, right? Lima is the capital of Peru, and Bangkok is the capital of Thailand, and Tunis is the capital of Tunisia, right? They're all capital cities. But what is the other one? Capitol, T-O-L. No, Capitol is relating to something else, right? I think capital for British people is relating to money that you use to invest in businesses, whereas capitalism is an ism. Capitalism is an economic system that exists in pretty much all your countries as well. Canada, America, Japan, Korea, Brazil, etc. We all live in a capitalist society. Anyhow, guys, all right, so that's number 1 through 12. That took a while to get through. Number 2, we're taking a look at demonyms, and obviously this is such a humongous list, and if I talk too slowly, it will be impossible for us to get through this. So I'm going to have to do this kind of quickly with you guys, but it is useful information because if you meet people from these countries, you want to be able to refer to them correctly using their correct demonym. And remember, demonym refers to the term that we use to refer to people from a certain country, right? So like Canada is a country, the demonym is Canadian, right? So let's take a look here. We've got the first one filled out for us. If someone is from Afghanistan, we don't call them Afghanian or Afghananese or something like that. We call them Afghan. So if someone is from Afghanistan, you just say, wow, he's an Afghan. Afghan is also the name of a rug. So if you're into rugs and stuff like that, you can buy an Afghan. And the reason why is because Afghans are actually famous for having really nice rugs for some reason. But they are nice rugs. So let's take a look here. So number 2, we got Bangladesh. How do we refer to people from Bangladesh? Well, people from Bangladesh, we call them Bangladeshi. Bangladeshi. We just add an I, and that makes an E sound. Bangladeshi. He is Bangladeshi. He is from, whoop, that's number 4. My mistake. Oops, because I went downward. It's supposed to be going from left to right. Okay. Anyhow, number 2. So let's go backwards here. Number 2 is Argentina. How do we refer to people from Argentina? Actually, we have 2 different terms. We can call them Argentinians or Argentines. But I'll give you Argentinians. Argentinians. And number 3, we have Australia. That's pretty easy. We call them Australians. Or you can just call them Aussies, right? Oh, those crazy Aussies. Number 5, Belgium. How do we refer to people from Belgium? We call them Belgian. So now, remember again, like I said, this refers to the people from that country, but it can also just be the adjective form, right? So you can say Belgian chocolate, Australian meat, Australians and Australian something. Argentinians are the people, but Argentinian wine. Bangladeshi clothes, right? Anyway, number 6, we've got Brazil. Okay, Brazil, what do we refer to you guys as? We call you guys Brazilian, right? Brazilian product. And people from the country are Brazilians. Number 7, Canada. Too easy for me. Canadian. And of course, Canadians for plural. Number 8, we've got Denmark. How do we refer to people from Denmark? Well, maybe you guys know that certain kind of cheese that's very famous, blue cheese, very, very sour. They call it Danish blue cheese, or the famous pastry, Danish. So we refer to those people as being Danish. He is Danish, or we can also call them a Dane. Some of my ancestors are Danish, so that's why I know that. He is a Dane, he is Danish. That is a Danish car or a Danish truck or whatever. Number 9, Egypt. For Egypt, we say Egyptian. So kind of an easy one, add I-A-N. Egyptian and Egyptians. I'd like to go to Egypt. England, of course, that's too easy. We're speaking their language. It is English. Okay, number 11, Finland. Finland. Finland's kind of an interesting one. We say Finnish. So it's kind of funny if you go up to a Finnish person, you're like, hey, are you finished? They're like, no, I'm not done yet. You're like, no. Are you from Finland? Are you Finnish? Like, oh, yeah, I'm Finnish. What? So anyhow, it's kind of funny. But yeah, we call them Finnish technology. Maybe you guys know Nokia, that company that was very famous. I think they're still alive today, but of course they're from Finland. Finland, very small country, very low population, but they're pretty high tech. Anyhow, number 12, we have Greece. All right, Greece. How do we refer to people from Greece? We call them Greek. G-R-E-E-K. Greek food is very famous. If you haven't tried Greek cuisine, highly recommend it. Pretty good. Number 13. What do we have? India. India is very easy. We just add an N. So we say Indian. Indian clothing, Indian cities, etc. Indian person. Okay. Moving on to 14. Iran. Iran, we can say Iranian, or you can say Persian. This is how they were referred to as in the past, but I think a lot of them still prefer the term Persian and Iranian. Anyhow, after that, we've got number 15, Iraq. Iraq is a little bit harder. It's like Bangladesh. So we say Iraqi with an I. He is Iraqi, or she is Iraqi. 16, Ireland. Ireland, we refer to people from Ireland as being Irish. Irish people, Irish pub, Irish beer. If you like beer, of course you must know Guinness. Guinness is from Ireland. Guinness is Irish. Great stuff. Okay, moving on to 17. Israel. Is real? Is it real? I don't know. But anyhow, Israeli. A lot of countries in the Middle East will just have an I at the end to refer to the people or products. Israeli car, Israeli technology. Actually, Israel is also very interesting because they manufacture a lot of small parts that exist in cell phones. So a lot of people don't know this, but every smartphone has at least one part from Israel. Wow, right? Anyhow, 18 is Japan. So Japan, yeah, a little bit tough, but not too tough. We say Japanese. So we add that ESE, Japanese. All right. Number 19, we have Kuwait. Ooh, hard one. So again, it's in the Middle East. Well, specifically in the Persian Gulf. So Kuwait, we just add an I. So we say Kuwaiti, Kuwaiti. And after Kuwait and Kuwaitis, we have Lebanon. Lebanon, also in the Middle East, above Israel. I think they used to have, what is it called? Beirut, I think, is their capital. Used to be really well known for being a great party city. Unfortunately, not anymore. But anyhow, Lebanon becomes Lebanese. That one's a lot harder. But Lebanese food is also really famous. I think it's like a mix between Middle Eastern and Greek. It's supposed to be really good. If you like hummus, try it out. 21, Malaysia. Okay, so Malaysia becomes Malaysian. We just add that N so it's nice and easy. I think Malaysia is pretty famous for spicy food. I heard it's pretty good. Never tried it. 22, Mexico. Well, Mexico becomes Mexican, right? They're not Mexicans because they can do it. They're Mexicans, right? So C-A-N. All right, moving on to 23. We have Morocco. Morocco in northern Africa. How do we refer to them as? Refer to them as Moroccans. But that one, Moroccan, yeah. Moroccan and Moroccans. Okay, and 24. Morocco is famous for Casablanca, of course. Supposed to be an awesome city, never been there. Anyhow, number 24 is the Netherlands. Netherlands is a tricky one because the Netherlands is also referred to as Holland, but actually Holland is just a very, very small province located in the Netherlands. But I think Holland was famous for, what were they famous for? Shipbuilding and banking. So that's why Dutch, whoops, I just gave you the answer. The demonym is completely different from the name of the country. The demonym is D-U-T-C-H, Dutch people, right? Dutch products. The Netherlands and Dutch people are famous for being bankers and being good investors. That's why the country is quite rich. Anyhow, 25 is Norway. Norway is kind of a tough one. People from Norway or products from Norway we refer to as being Norwegian. Norwegian fish, Norwegian truck, Norwegian person. 26 here, we've got Pakistan. So Pakistan is not in the Middle East. Technically, it is part of the Indian subcontinent or South Asia. But we refer to people from Pakistan as Pakistani. So we just add that I, right? Pakistani. And 27 is Peru. Peru, that is a tough one. Peru here, we refer to people from Peru as Peruvian. Peruvian people. Okay, good. But let's move on, guys. Number 28 here. And in 28, what do we have? The Philippines. Okay. Philippines is also kind of a weird one because we completely change it to F. And we call that just Filipino, right? But it's still a little bit confusing because we say like, he or she is a Filipino or Filipino product, Filipino restaurant. But for men, we say, he is a Filipino. For women, you say Filipina with an A at the end. So I don't know why it's like that, but that's just the way it is. So that's the Philippines is Filipino. Let's take a look at number 29. 29, we have Poland. So Poland, also kind of an interesting demonym. We call people from Poland, we call them Polish, right? But it's kind of funny because this is the same spelling for the word polish, right? Like nail remover polish or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure all women have some polish at home. But yeah, spelling is the same, but the sound is completely different. Polish, the item, Polish, the people, and describing items from that place. Anyhow, so Polish, and I heard it's a nice country and kind of cheap, so I'd like to visit there and try some beer. I heard it's pretty good. Number 30, we have Portugal. Portugal, so right next to Spain. We already know, of course, we call them Portuguese, right? Because we know the language of Brazil and Portugal is Portuguese, so Portuguese people. Okay, guys, 31. Moving on to Russia. Ooh, Russia, cold, cold, cold. Russia's an easy one, though. The demonym for people from Russia or prox is Russian. He or she is a Russian. Lots of Russian oil goes to Europe. Anyhow, so that's Russian. And 32, we have Saudi Arabia. Tough one, right? Lots of oil comes from Saudi Arabia. But how we refer to the people, the products, we refer them as Saudi Arabian. So just add the IAN and you're good. Okay, number 33, guys. Scotland. So Scotland, part of Great Britain or the UK. We refer to people from Scotland as Scottish, right? And you guys probably know some famous things about Scotland. I think everybody knows that traditionally people in Scotland, the men used to wear this kind of skirt, dress, although it's called a kilt in Scotland. They used to wear that when they were fighting with people. So they're famous for the kilt, for the kind of skirt, dress thing. But they're also famous for a certain dish called haggis. Haggis is kind of famous maybe for North Americans because we think it's kind of gross or disgusting because it is a sheep's stomach, and inside the sheep's stomach there's a bunch of other foods and you have to eat it. Ugh. Actually, some people really like it though. I'm sure it's not bad, but anyhow, those things are famous in Scotland. 34 is Spain. Spain actually has two demonyms. The easy one is just Spanish, right? Spanish the language, Spanish person, Spanish oranges, Spanish wine, whatever. But you can also refer to people from Spain as a... Wait. I'm doing something wrong here, aren't I? Yeah, sorry. Spanish and Spaniard. So a person from Spain can be referred to either as a Spaniard or a Spanish person. 35, we've got Sweden. Sweden, kind of an easy one. If somebody is from Sweden, we say they are a Swedish person. Swedish car, of course, Volvo is a Swedish company, although I think it's owned by General Motors. But we can also call them Swedes as well. He or she is a Swede. They are Swedish. 36, guys. Let's move on here. 36. Switzerland. Switzerland's a tough one. So Switzerland, of course, is the name of the country, right? Switzerland. Famous for watches, clocks, and chocolate and cheese, right? We call these people Swiss. Swiss people. And in Canada and America, probably also other parts of Europe, Swiss cheese is kind of a special kind of cheese that's well known. Anyhow, Swiss. And 37. 37 here we have Thailand. This is also a very confusing one, right? Maybe people want to think like Thailandese or Thailandian, right? But for whatever reason, Thailand just actually becomes Thai. T-H-I. He is Thai. He is a Thai person. Everybody really likes, wait. No, that's Vietnamese. But everybody likes Thai sauce, right? Or something. Anyhow, so that's Thailand. It becomes Thai. 38 here, we have Turkey. Turkey. Turkey is always kind of a funny name for a country because when we say Turkey in Canada, America, people usually imagine the bird, right? The very tasty bird that we eat for Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? But Turkey, the demonym is actually quite easy. We just say Turkish. Turkish people, Turkish food. I did go to a Turkish restaurant one time, really good stuff, and they also have really good coffee, so highly recommend Turkish coffee. 39. What do we got? Okay, another country within the United Kingdom. It is Wales, and I already think I gave you guys a demonym for this one, but like I said, my good friend in my hometown, his parents are both originally from Wales. They immigrated to Canada. We refer to those people as being Welsh. W-E-L-S-H. Welsh people. And yeah, Wales. I don't really know if they're... What is Wales famous for? I know Wales is a very beautiful little country that's part of the United Kingdom. Actually, a lot of people recommend if you go to the UK, you should definitely check out Wales because it's a really nice place, especially Cardiff. But other than that, I don't know much about Wales other than the people being very, very white and a lot of them having red or orange hair. Okay, guys, and last one we got here is Yemen. A lot of people, Yemen is kind of a mysterious country for many people because if you say, you know, he's from Yemen or I went to Yemen, people are like, where is Yemen? Just like Oman, right? A lot of people don't know where Oman is. Did we look at Oman? I can't really remember. Oh, we didn't look at Oman. I guess that's not one on the list. But Yemen, we refer to the people from Yemen as Yemeni, like we do for many people in the Middle East or Central Asia. All right, guys, so yikes. That is our list of demonyms for so many countries here. So just remember, like Afghan, Argentinian, Australian, Bangladeshi, Belgian, Brazilian, Canadian, Danish, Dane, Egyptian, English, Finnish, Greek, Indian, Persian, Iranian, Iraqi, Irish, Israeli, Japanese, Kuwaiti, Lebanese, Malaysian, Mexican, Moroccan, Dutch, Norwegian, Pakistani, Peruvian, Filipino, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Saudi Arabian, Scottish, Spanish or Spaniard, Swedish or Swede, Swiss, Thai, Turkish, Welsh, Yemeni. Yikes! That is a lot of different demonyms. But honestly, we only went over 40 and there's 100 plus countries in the world. So we didn't cover all of them. We didn't talk about Lithuanians, Estonians, Latvians, Romanians. Do we even have Korea on here? Oh yeah, no, there's not even Korea. Well, Korea, that's an easy one, Korean, right? But yeah, I hope wherever you're watching from that you are somewhere located on this list here. Of course, I am because I am Canadian, but my ancestry is mostly English, French. Oh, we also don't have France, right? Yeah, France was not included. English, French, and Danish with a little bit of Spanish. But anyhow, lots of interesting demonyms. Not that they're horribly important, but if you're speaking to people in English, because of course English right now is the lingua franca, or the global language, right? And you're speaking, you know, maybe you're from Korea and you're talking to somebody from Turkey, you don't want to make a mistake when you're trying to form their demonym, right? It's better if you could say like, hey, are you Turkish, right? Or, you know, my good friend Isfahan is from Turkey, right? They are Turkish, right? And they gave me some Turkish coffee or Turkish cappuccino and it was really good. But this does not include the full list, so I do think it's such an interesting thing to look at and to kind of check to make sure that you know the demonyms correctly. But anyhow, so guys, Number one, we looked at where certain countries are located and some geographical terms, pretty interesting. Then we looked at demonyms, but that about does it for this exercise. Now, there was another exercise connected to this, but again, this is one that you guys can do at home alone, but preferably with a partner. Obviously, this one here has got student A, student B. You probably want to mix it up, find a partner. You kind of cut the sheet in half, especially if you guys got a printer, or just try to hide it and try it out. It should be fun. Now, that's about it for today's class, guys. But you guys have a quiz, both a written one, and also a speaking one. So I recommend before you do the quiz, always a good idea to do some extra review. I would highly recommend, spending some time reviewing the directional prepositions that we looked at on Monday and also in today's review class in the first class. Take a look at directional prepositions. Make sure you understand them, right? But besides that, we did go over a lot of vocabulary. So take a look at some of the vocabulary we went over today and also Monday. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, of course, Melanie went over some stuff with you guys too. So take a look at that stuff as well. Always useful to do that. Go over the vocab sheets. Make sure you try to understand them. Even if they're not on the quiz, it's a good idea to review them anyhow because they're terms that you could use if you're living in Canada or America or whatever, right? Besides that, try your best with the quiz. Remember, for the speaking portion, it's always better to say more than to say less. So even if you don't really even totally understand the answer or the question, just blah, 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 blah. Because trust me, me and Melanie, we like listening to people talking, and we can always give a lot of constructive feedback. It's kind of enjoyable for us, right? Anyhow, guys, so good luck on the quiz. I hope you guys kind of enjoy it. We got 2 minutes left, so maybe I'll just tell you a little bit about my plans for the weekend, and I'll start erasing the board. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. My plan for the week, well, do I have a plan for the weekend? No, not really. My plan for the weekend is to mostly just continue to assist my wife take care of my daughter and newborn daughter. Of course, my job is mostly just taking care of our older daughter because she can't get a lot of attention from her mom right now because her mom is really, really busy taking care of our newborn child. So I have to take my kid outside and we got to go to parks and run around. So it's kind of exhausting and she doesn't sleep that much either sometimes because she has to get into this new pattern because of our newborn daughter. So I think everybody in my family right now, well, if you have a kid, you know what I'm talking about. Usually the first month, not a lot of sleep. But if you're a woman, if you're the mom, it's not, okay, of course, it's really hard. It's much harder than it is for the guy. But you guys have one advantage, and that advantage is a lot of hormones going through your body. And those hormones help you stay awake, right? So that you can help your newborn child. Men, of course, we don't have those hormones, but, we help out, right? We try our best to help out. So that's my main job right now, is helping out and cooking dinner, or at least ordering dinner online and that kind of stuff. So that's why if you see me right now and I look really tired, that's why I look tired. And I will see you guys on Monday, of course, for next week's class. I will probably also look tired on Monday, but we'll see. Gotta stay strong, get through the first month, then things will get a little bit easier. So anyhow, guys, you guys have a good weekend. I wish you well. Hope things are going well in your home countries. And I will see you guys on Monday. So adios, or 안녕히 가세요, 계세요. That one's tough, right? Or sayonara, samurai. Bleh. Yeah. Okay, guys, so have a pleasant weekend. Enjoy yourselves.